Cause I'm not sure.
This is my school. Yeah, this is a math one.
And I'm probably.
We're gonna.
When you can go back. I wanna go back to the doctor the 25th, so probably not next week.
We're live. Yep.
This week, I have off Tuesday and Friday. Next week, I have off Thursday.
Get out of the city. This is better.
But tomorrow, which when I go, I'm gonna be in trouble. But I was like, I got this is so long, and I get girl, like really, some other people, and I have really curly hair. So I was like, that's it. Sister, you hold it down. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. Well,
Okay. Oh, wait.
oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Right.
But when I look in it, that's all I see is red. I get my hair done every 5 days. You
Oh.
know, the hair. Because if I wait a week, it's like.
Yes. Okay. Good point.
No, you told me not to.
Yep,
so
I
didn't
was making sure. That's not reading for all of you there. Stuff or just one? It's one of the things, all right. So, start reading. Yeah. Same thing I'm sure you already see. We definitely done it. Yeah.
You go down Double Road, first, which part of the first road is Atlee, and the next road is Main Street. May, and May White, May. It's my hillbilly, sorry. You can say it, May.
What's your condition?
Yes, it's the second house in the shire.
When do we adopt the budget? After the budget, I mean.
Yeah, when we adopt it, it has to be done, I have to be submitted by November 1st. We are
What else?
we're meeting on September 23rd to adopt it. That's what they decided to do. That's what you guys decided when we were at the budget meeting. We wanted it September 23rd. Because something was,
Did we have to wait did we have to wait for so many days afterwards? Is that the reason why? Because I said, why are we adopting after?
oh, you have to wait 10 days.
Okay, I just said.
10 days to
why are
have
we
the next
adopting?
meeting.
I didn't see it in the.
Something. It's so many days.
Okay.
There's 10 days in there. And then we have to have it done by
Call the meeting to order. First we got. Sorry, we've got a public hearing first. Public hearing for the 2020 budget, September 9, 2019. Amy, will you call the roll?
let's see, Adam Jones,
Here.
Tom Roberts.
Here.
Ben Fisher,
Here.
Joe Scott, and Bill Walters.
Here.
Sorry, forgot who I saw.
At this time, the public hearing is open for comment. Seeing none, so entertain a motion in the public hearing.
Second.
First and second. Everybody in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Public hearing is closed. Now, if you would, please stand and remove your hats and do the pledge. Prayer.
Father, we just thank you so much for this weather we've had the last month. We ask you, Lord, to guide the board tonight in their decisions and things they're considering. Special prayers tonight for the Sophia Mendez family. As we all know that she's going through a pretty serious issue right now. We just ask you just to hold her tight and let her know that she's loved. In Jesus' name, amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adam Jones?
Here.
Ben Fisher,
Here.
Joe Scott, Tom Roberts, Bill.
Here. First item up on the agenda is approval of the August minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes from August.
A second. First and second, any discussion, changes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Tell you what, we're gonna bounce just a little bit here tonight. We've got an update. I'll let Josh, you guys, Commonwealth, are you ready? Yeah, you guys want to give your update on the stormwater project? Sure.
Now with your layout, do you want me to stand here at the podium?
You're fine. Yes, with the camera, yeah, okay.
All right. So my name's Jeremy Schmidt. I'm with Commonwealth Engineers. It's been a few months since we've updated the council on the status of the stormwater project. So in talking with Bill, thought it'd be a good idea just to come and kind of let everybody know where we stand and what's going on, what we still need to do. So this is the stormwater improvements project that we are going to try to fund through the SRF program. So back a few months ago, we had a public hearing to talk about that and present the information to the town, get any comments. That was part of the SRF process. So all of that information along with the PER was submitted to SRF, and they have been reviewing. They recently sent us a comment letter that we are currently responding to. So, and in the meantime, we have been continuing forward with design of that so that we would have plans and specifications that we could put out on the street and get contractor bids for. So the process as it stands right now, we're, as I mentioned, we're submitting these responses to comments to SRF. My expectation would be that that will satisfy any of their comments that they have. They will then be able to issue us an approval. And once we have that approval, really the only thing remaining at that point is we do need to obtain easements in various locations for the project. So that's really kind of the next step that we're going to be working on now is getting those easements put together. Our plan right now, and we can certainly modify this, but this was kind of what we were bouncing back and forth internally, is we will put together the exhibits, so the figures that show what portions of properties that we need, and put together letters, and we would send those out by the end of this month, the end of September. Then in the letter, we would say that at the October council meeting, we could have like an information session, so anybody who we're requesting easements from, if they have any questions, they could come talk to us. We can try to answer those questions as best we can. Then if they're ready to sign at that point, great, but we also understand it may take a little more time, so we thought, so the October meeting we could do is informational, and then we could follow again with something similar in November, but in November we would be looking to actually get signatures from everybody. if there are folks who haven't signed yet. And hopefully, in between those two meetings, if we know of folks who may have more questions or concerns, we'll be trying to address those so that essentially by the November meeting, everything will be ready, we can get it signed. We'll have to work with Mr. Ress, the attorney, as well, to get those things put together. So that's kind of our last big hurdle, if you will, to get through, to be ready to have the formal approval from SRF to allow us to bid. Normally, they want to see those easements in hand. There can be some play there if need be, but usually they like for us to have all that in hand before we go to bid. And once we have that, there's a portion of the project does cross State Road 32 on the north end of town, so we will have to get an NDOT permit for that, usually not a big deal. And since this is stormwater for the most part, the only other permit we need is what's called an erosion control permit. We don't have to, since it's not sanitary sewer specific, we're not having to go to IDEM to do anything. So really those are the last few hurdles. So after we get through those, then we should be ready to bid. So, I don't know if there are specific questions that I can answer, but.
And I just want to know where we're at, units coming up, we talked about it.
So everything goes perfect, you still won't start until spring, right?
That's the expectation at this point. Right. So everything goes perfect. We'll need to, with the getting everything in as far as the easements, getting their approval, and then we bid. So once we bid, we're looking at sometime in the spring before we probably be able to actually close on the loan with SRF.
You got any questions?
I'm good.
You guys? Good. Thank you.
Very good, sir.
Do we have the exact dates for October, November for the council?
Oh, thank you.
That's why I think we'll include in the.
Yeah, October, right now, October's Columbus Day, and I think November was.
Yeah, you go
Veterans Day, so yes,
You go-
that was something that had to be discussed tonight.
Yeah, you go over, normally it'd be on the 14th, and then it bumps to the 15th, which is.
So you're gonna do the Tuesday after.
Is what I've got said with it, we agreed to, board, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, I put these in every year, and I don't make them repeat, because we bounce a couple of them. I know, you're gone, so,
And she won't be here. We're in DC.
Oh, with the 6th grade field trip, yeah.
boy.
Yeah, I'd rather be here.
Tom has volunteered to stay many times.
okay. And then the November meeting is, I show is the 12th, Tuesday the 12th.
I remember that one.
Because the 11th is Veterans Day, we go to the next day, so it'll be Tuesday the 12th. What you show, Amy? Everybody good with that?
I didn't look at it, but I,
Okay. Answer the
Tuesday
question.
the 12th, and then, so Tuesday the 15th.
Tuesday the 15th, Tuesday the 12th, 15th in October, 12th in November.
yeah,
Okay.
that-
Make
All
sure,
right.
make sure you put that out there.
I will
12th.
change it. Yes.
15th in October, 12th in November.
That'd be the same time, I assume.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
All the other groups, we do their dates as well.
Yes.
Perfect.
If I did,
Got
if
that
I
taken.
remember right, that's what we approved at the very beginning, because that was off that sheet.
I think, I don't know that you approved, I think it was discussed, but
Agreed,
no one
yeah.
ever finished.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to the top now, and I apologize, so there's been some changes you can see in the room going, video, some transparency, some other stuff. Adam, why don't you explain what's taken place here in the last couple of days and what we're trying to do?
Sure. So in an effort to not only improve communication, but visibility of meetings, and overall transparency as to what we're trying to accomplish and giving you the ability to see what we're looking at, we've implemented a couple changes. The first one tonight is our first live stream of the town meeting. You will also be able to watch that at any time. It's automatically archived and searchable. If you log on to YouTube and just do a search for Daleville Town Hall, you'll see the channel and you'll see the video. you can subscribe and get notified when we're streaming things. So in addition to that, the work in progress is also getting it so that you can see the documents that we're looking at. We're a few steps closer to being there. I know it's not perfectly visible and it's a little cockeyed, but bear with us. We're getting there. These documents that you see here will be available to you as well. So you will have all the information that we have. And I know over the past, the amount of time I've been paying attention and looking at things, there's always a lot of conversation as to why are we making the decisions we're making? What are we doing? What are we trying to hide? Well, the answer is nothing. And so you're going to have the information that we have at your fingertips. Thank you.
All right, let's get back in. We're gonna go to departments. Joe's still out. Tom, you wanna go with water?
Yeah. Everything seems to be going on.
Okay, streets and garage, Alan, no, paving just finished up. All the streets are done. They were backfilling, Tennessee Street tonight, the new one. Stop bars are up, and we should have an answer on the next community crossing grant, I think, in October, I think is when the announcement comes out. So we've got another 300,000 pending with them. Hopefully we'll nail that and get the rest of it done. Other than that,
So do you want to fix the name of that street? Or is there something?
well, I want to get tied up to this. I want to check with them, I want to check with the inventory, how we should, I want to give some advice there on that one there and tie that all together. And we'll go back to that. Planning and zoning.
No new business from planning and zoning.
You ready, Chief?
Everybody received their activity report
There you go.
for the month. As you can see, Board Member Jones has placed that up there. These are the new breakdown of our reports. These will also be put on our Facebook post. So if anybody wants to go on there and see them, they'll show the percentage of the calls a month. It'll show the year to date, how many calls that we've had. And so far, we've had 1,961 calls for the month, well, for the year so far. So this will be available if you want to come into the office and ask, one of the guys can print it off. It's very easy. I know there were some people who said that they couldn't get this.
Can we make this available on the website with the other attachments?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
So you might as well make it attached.
If it's available.
Yeah, I don't know who they talked to, but this stuff's available. Yeah, the only thing that we can't give out
Public
is,
record and submitted in the meeting anyway, so.
yeah, the only thing we can't give out is if it's a reporter or something under investigation, then those documents, we can't give them out, but this right here, breakdown, we can hand those out, so that's.
If you send me a copy of that, I'll send it to our website.
Okay.
You must be watching it. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's good. And this, yeah, so
Moving
hi,
at speed.
we had a viewer.
Oh, we have a viewer.
My son.
Already making changes.
My son who lives 20 feet away.
Oh, is it? It's
Get ready to walk across the street.
I
didn't say it out loud, Rick.
There were 6 viewers. There were 6 viewers.
So, and this is our, and I saw it on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
So it's there, this information is available to you already.
Yeah, when we post this and we send it to all of the council members, we'll have it posted that same day on our Facebook. That way you can go on there. You can look and see whatever you need. We're also going to start posting a little bit more stuff, the activity and stuff that goes around town. That way, if we have any burglaries or anything else, you'll be notified. I'm done. Looking at your watch.
Sorry.
It's almost time for me to quit.
Bill, I do have a question for James, if you don't mind. James, what's the most common call you get?
Honestly, we don't have like common calls. We could go from assisting EMS to a domestic to a fatality accident. I mean, we just don't really have what you would call common calls now. If you go on here, like, a lot of calls we have assisting motorists, assisting other agencies, domestics. And the domestics, they can just be from a domestic dispute to actually where somebody's put their hands on someone else. But 1 month, we could have 10 assist calls, maybe one domestic. We could have 20 or 30 accident calls. It just, every month really is different.
Do you see any area that's increasing? In terms of number of calls, I'm sure are increasing, but is there any particular area you see that's growing?
No, not really. I mean, it stays the same. And one thing I can say about a small town too is like a lot of the people that burglarize or go out and steal certain things, a lot of times when we arrest them and put them in jail, it goes down. When they're released by the courts, it goes back up. So normally, I mean, we know where to start usually when something like that happens. So that's one good thing about a small town. You always know everybody, so.
All right, moving on. Parks Department. Tim?
We didn't really have very much new business this evening, but we did discuss October the 19th is going to be the fall frenzy. So be sure that you pay attention for more details to follow. But we're going to have a parade and lots of things for the kids in the community to do. So if you have anybody that wants to do anything or be a part of it, let us know. We have put out on Facebook that there is a area 10 by 10 that you can rent for or put your goods to sell in for $10 if you want to bring it to the town hall. So that's another way to get up to the community and see what we have to trade. That's all.
That's it? Okay, we're at claim docket, payroll distribution. Everybody had a chance to review? I know the payroll's still going there, claim docket's in there. These guys are finishing up there. Entertain a motion to separate it. Claim docket,
Make a motion.
first, a second.
Second.
First and second, any discussion, changes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Entertain a motion on the payroll distribution.
Move that we approve the payroll distribution for this month.
A second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Record show goes back. Joe, you won't, he's not even going to pass that down. You won't hear on the vote, so we'll be out of that. Joe, we just finished up on the claim docket. Sanitation, do you have anything there? You got anything to bring up in that?
I do.
Hang on, you only get two to go at one time. Go ahead.
That's it.
There you go.
I've had
Okay,
people
so we go
ask me,
ahead.
that was going to be my question.
Go ahead and do that now. So when we do that,
Okay, here's what we've done. One time we did it in October, another time we did it more in November when we got the leaves, because we did the leaf pickup at the same time. And I can't remember if leaf pickup is separate. That's what I, all the time, or if it's built into the big item. It's not built into the big item pickup. So it was a separate pickup on your. So I guess there'd be two different things, schedule the big item pickup and the cleanup days, and then do the fall cleanup in with leaf cleanup, I guess, in November. Leaves were late, that's the reason we did it later.
We can do it in October, toward the end of October, but not the last week. We want the week before the end of October.
We could, I mean, you think, the last Thursday's the 31st, but I mean, you jump the week before, you go the 24th to Thursday, and you've got 25th, 26th, and 27th, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Before you hit the Halloween, which pops in the middle of next week. They'd be in and out of here before everybody hits the streets.
That's what I was thinking.
Maybe after the fall frenzy and the.
Yeah, Fall Frenzy's the 19th, right? Yeah, Fall Frenzy's the 19th, so you do the large pickup the 24th with, the dumpster set for the 26th and 27th.
You check on that for me.
I can check
Does that sound good with everybody else? Everybody good with that?
Tentatively approve it.
Item, so large item, 24th. Fall cleanup, 25th through the 27th. How many dumpsters are you talking for
We've
cleanup?
got, they crammed
We do
3,
three
you
before,
might as well
maybe.
go to the 3, we've been, yeah. I'd rather go in there than.
And you want them placed fire station?
We'll get what Todd's left, but yeah, I think if we go the same locations we did with the last one, you got the fire station. Then we do the lot.
I didn't want to do that.
Did we do a boat down here?
Well,
But I think we get one, we could probably put one down
at the
there.
ball
on-
diamond,
on-
now it's not crowded.
Well, not either the Ball Diamond or on our lot there at the corner of Sixth and Edwards. Give that side, that way there's one strategically all over town.
The reason we didn't do the corner lot was the rain last time.
Right, we put one up here on the corner that could service this whole side and that. You got one at the west side at Sixth and Edwards. And then put one at the fire station for this side over here.
So
Everybody has
Sixth
access
and
to it.
Edwards.
Sixth and Edwards, yeah, the lot the town owns there on the,
Okay, I can
place
check.
it right there on the corner.
I can check with Linda. You know where to go?
We good? Good, okay. All right, new business. Approval of county contract to oversee the November elections. Formality, it comes through each year when we go to that. We don't do the primary, obviously, so we do our own caucus, so we have to enter into agreement for $3,000 to have the machines run a year. If we went the other way, it was $10,000, so we saved $7,000. I get that right, Amy? So need a motion on resolution authorizing, nope, that's the wrong one.
Our resolution is just a contract.
There it is, contract. So I need a motion to enter into the rental agreement.
I move that we approve the voting site rental agreement.
Second.
Any discussion?
Did you say machines, not as opposed to paper ballots?
That's always asked, the last two, they bring us, I think, 3
They bring
machines. We
machines.
haven't had paper in.
4 years ago, we did paper ballot.
Only we did it when it was only our election.
Yeah, when it
We
was
did
only ours, yeah.
Okay, it was the general, we did paper ballots. That's why I was just wondering. That's great. I was here when we
That was
counted.
8 years ago.
No, because I was on the council. I was here when,
But it was only it was only for our general election, yeah.
Gotcha.
But we,
but I think we did our own elections, that's.
Yeah. and
I
that's,
just making sure the machines are nice.
it's much easier.
And the cost for them to do that, 3,000.
3,000 versus the 10. Yeah, if we stay in the primary, it's 10 grand. We elect not to stay in the primary, just do the general. So
Yeah.
it's just- Okay, for any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution 2019-07, authorizing signatory. This is where Bryce was for the SRF, for the loan program on the stormwater. Since Bryce is gone, and I'm going to switch it over to BP to handle the signatory, so the papers I'm going through. So that would take a motion from you guys.
I'll make a motion to pass resolution 2019-07. We have signature.
First, second,
I'll second.
first and second, any discussion? Amy, roll call this one, please.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
Joe Scott,
Yes.
Ben Fisher,
Yes.
Tom Roberts,
Yes.
Bill Walker.
Mr. Brogan, voting is yours.
Without the check. All right, what I have, Ellen, is a hypothetical. And let me explain the background in this. There's funds that the town carries in different areas for reserve purposes.
There gives you, I'll share.
No, I got it. And what's happening is that money is being held in just a general savings account at the bank, making a 1% or less. This proposal is to say, let's let our town money work for itself and get ourselves involved in some, what we call short-term investments. Okay? These are non-qualified, in other words, they're not retirement or anything like that. It's, and for an individual having this type of account, it'd actually be a taxable account. Of course, for the town, there's no tax issues, so we're not getting that. It also allows us to do multiple accounts. In other words, what we would do is say, in a particular area, an account area, we'd say, okay, we've got X amount of reserve dollars we'd like to place into something like this. We'd set up an account for that. Another area, we'd set up another account. So you might, I don't know how many different accounts there might be. That's for the board to determine which account and how much. But here's the proposal. So let's look at it. I wish I'd known this was going on, because I could have known. I need a slide for this. This is called an income type account. So the idea is this is going to generate some kind of income. The breakdown is heavily into the bond market. We're looking at about a 70% in bonds, and the rest in U.S. and non-U.S. stocks. These will be mutual funds, and we can discuss mutual funds if we need to do that. That would be helpful for the board to do that. I can do a very simple demonstration of how mutual funds work. These would be mutual funds. And they would be invested in the different, and on that first page, you can see different kinds of U.S. stocks as well as non-U.S. stocks. Non-U.S. stocks are developed stocks. A great example of that is British Petroleum. They've been around as long as Standard Oil. Okay? They're an old company. And then non-U.S. emerging stocks. Okay, that might be something that's out of Taiwan, China, maybe a new company in somewhere in Europe. Okay? And then the rest would be different types of bonds as listed here. So any questions about what I've covered so far? Here, we can just have a better side profile. All right. So,
Steve, just before we move on, I mentioned this to you before, is there's a good chance that we're limited in what we can invest in, but this still is good areas, and we need to be doing better than the one less than 1%.
yes, that's the idea. There might be restrictions where we can't invest in mutual funds with particular types of funds you might have, especially if we don't know yet with some governmental money that you're holding. Okay, right? Don't know yet. If we can, great, but if we can't, fine. But this is the idea of let's let our money work for itself. And so we're actually making money while money is just sitting there rather than the bank making 12% in their investments of our money. Okay, let's get a share of that. Okay, so with this hypothetical, what we're looking at is history. Okay, can't predict what the future is. If anybody can, they're probably illegal. Probably they are illegal. Okay. So there's a lot of different charts. The one I like to look at is look under the performance section on the right-hand column, right in the middle there. You see that chart? It talks about trailing returns. Everybody see that? Yes. If we look under the portfolio return, this will give us an idea of what these funds that I'm talking about, how they performed over the last 3 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years. The benchmark return, we're looking at the Barclays aggregated, US aggregated bond funds, okay? So we're looking at the bond market, we're not looking just at the stock market. So the bond market is even more conservative than the stock market. That's what we're looking at. So the red line is that, the bond market, and then, or the blue line, excuse me, is the bond market. The red line is this portfolio return. So when you look at it, over the last 3 months, almost 2.5% gain. Over the last year, a little over 3.5%. Over the last 3 years, a little over 3.5%. Last 5 years, almost 3%. And over the last 10 years, 5.5%. Okay, so that gives us an idea what kind of returns we're getting. We always tell folks are somewhere between 5 and 6%. So you can see over the last 10 years, it's been really right dead center of that. The funds I'm using are at the bottom. You can look these up. They have tickers, as you can see under the symbol. Franklin Strategic Income, Franklin Federal Interim Term, and then also the Franklin Mutual Global Discovery. Okay, and they're split almost in thirds. You know, you can't split 100% exactly in thirds. That's why it says that. Okay. Any questions about the performance? So this is a return performance. Okay. Okay. All right. Other charts are showing you the same thing in a different way, but I like to try to pinpoint the most simple piece, and then you can look at it more detail on your own, especially some of you that really like numbers. All right. So now we're going to look at risk factor. And the one I like to look at is under risk and return statistics, okay? And the one I like to look at is on the right-hand side, right-hand column, and it's one called beta. Everybody see that? Right dead, almost right towards the middle and to the right side there. You see beta? Anybody not? Okay. All right, we're okay? Yeah. All right, so what beta is it's saying, based on the Barclays, one says you're following exactly what the Barclays aggregated bond fund is doing, okay? So it flows like this, and that's how the stock market flows, up and down. All right, if your beta is over 1, okay, then it's more volatile. If it's under 1, then it's less volatile. Well, as you can look at this, you can see the last 3 years, 0.04. 0.07 over the last 5 years, and 0.15 over the last 10 years. So really low beta, which means the risk is really low. All right, why? Well, we're in the bond market. That's one reason. And why would we want to do that? Because you want to know that money, as best as possible, you want to know that that money is going to be there when you need it. No guarantee, because it's an investment, but with this kind of volatility, it's not going up and down all over the place like the stock market is. So it's low volatility, and we're getting some pretty decent returns. Any questions on that? I'm moving too fast, Holly, okay? The next page then is going to show you each of these funds, how they performed. You got to understand that there are some of these have stocks that pay dividends, and some of them also have yields. Those will all roll back into the fund. Any gains we make roll back into the fund. So you're always getting that reinvested into your product. So here's an example. I use the example of, let's look at this. This is an example of $20,000 invested. And let's say we invested it going back to 1994. Okay. This gives you a good more than 20-year history, in fact, about a 25-year history. If you look, the blue line is, once again, the Barclays, and the red line is the portfolio. I want to show you this history because I think it shows how good these guys manage these products. By the way, with Franklin Templeton, all of their product managers, their mutual fund managers, have at least 30 years experience. So we're talking about dogs that know what's going on, okay? All right, so when you look at this, you can see they were kind of meeting the Barclays until about 2003. Then all of a sudden they started figuring out, and it's been way outperforming that Barclays, okay, since then. And if you look down that right-hand column where it says average annualized return, you see 6.62%. So it's almost a 7% return as an annualized return over that 25-year period. Okay, any questions about that? All right, so let's look down through here. This will just show us, okay, so we put $20,000 in that first year, 5% loss, actually almost 5.5% loss. Why? Well, you got a sales charge. Anytime you make a deposit, there's a sales charge. Okay, that's how the company makes their money, how they pay commissions. All right, the next year though, they more than regained that with an 18% return. Next year, a 15% return, then a 12.5% return, then a 3% return, then an 8% return, then a 7.5% return, then a 4% return, then a 1.5% return, and then a 19% return, and almost 11% return, a 6% return, almost 12% return, and almost 7% return, and then, 2008. I'll tell you what, if you have a product that isn't as old as 2008, you have no idea how it's going to be managed. 2000, we all know, we all lived through 2008. I know people that lost half of their retirement funds. 2008, the general loss for the stock market was 39%. Huge, okay? Well, it was a 13.5% loss. Why? Well, first of all, they managed it real well and were in a much more conservative investment in the stock market. So you could say, at that stage, you could say, well, we lost 13.5%, or you could say, we could have lost 39%. We lost a third of what everybody else lost. Glass half empty. The next year, they more than regained that loss with a 19% gain and a little extra. Next year, almost 8.5% gain. Next year, almost a 4% gain. A 10% gain the next year. 2013 on the next page, 8% return, a 4.5% return. And then 2015 was another down year. It was about a 2% loss. But once again, they quickly regained that with over 6.5% gain then in 2016. 2017 was almost a 6% gain. 2018 was a 4% loss. Everybody lost in 2018. It was a weird year because it was the beginning 2007, the end of 2017, beginning of 2018 were just really bad. And then it picked up. And then, as you can see right now, 2019, just through August, we're already at an 8% gain. So it's looking good. Don't know for sure how it'll end up, but it's looking good for the end of the year for that. All right, the next illustration is just another graph showing similarly the information I gave you. The next page is describing what the standardized and tax adjustment returns disclosure statement is on these particular funds. Okay, so you can look at those. And then, Tom, I just made one copy because this is a repeat for everybody. And it's basically what you have to have with every investment. So it's just a general thing. I'll give that to you. That's a great nighttime reading. Okay. So, do I have any questions? I mean, let me put it this way. There's no dumb question. It's just dumb not to ask a question if you got one. Okay? Investments are funny things, and so I want to make sure if I need to explain, would it help for me to explain mutual funds? Does that help anybody?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
Again, I think we need to, Joe's gonna do some research on this also to see what we can invest
He's
in.
doing it right now.
Okay.
Okay.
But I think
I know we're
there's more
limited.
work done on our side. Sure. Someone come in and look where our cash liquidity is and see where needs are.
Right,
And I know we can invest.
right,
Everything, it just takes someone to take some time to do it.
right. And here's the rule of thumb, Tom. That's a great statement. Let me kind of fill it in a little bit more. If this is money you're going to spend within the next year to year and a half, don't do any investment. You can't make up the sales charge. In fact, what I say is, if it's money you're just setting aside for a rainy day, or if a pump goes out or something, you just want it for an emergency purpose, fine to put it in there. You just don't know when or if you'll ever use it.
This is the point I was trying to make, is
Mhm.
if we know we don't get down to a certain level, in other words, we know that we don't get down to $200,000 in the bank,
Right.
and we know that that 200,000 probably could be invested for
Yep.
a full year.
It's a great way to look at it. Yep, that's another way to look at it. Yeah, in anything that you're thinking in terms of investing for the future, in other words, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, we're gonna have to replace this, that, or whatever, then this would be a product to invest in, because you got time enough to make up that sales charge. But you don't wanna do it other than that, okay? So, yeah, you guys are gonna have to figure out which funds, where, and then from a legal standpoint as well as just from a monetary management standpoint, that makes sense. But I wanted you to be aware of this. Love to help the town with this. It'd be a great opportunity for me. I'm being honest about it. It's a great opportunity for me too. So any questions along the way, you can ask those. If I need to be here for the October meeting, it's on a Tuesday night. That's when I have my recovery group that I lead. But I'll get out of that if I need to be here for the October meeting Tuesday. Whatever. Any questions?
Thanks, Keith.
Hey, Bill, where did you say you was from?
Primary,
Primary, what was the name of your company?
Oh, Primerica?
Primerica?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you can look them up. Their ticker's PRI. If you want to look them on the stock exchange, they're publicly traded.
Thank you.
That's a good question.
Okay, moving on, Mr. Jones, school traffic in Walker.
Yeah, so the board and the town was sent an email from a concerned resident. She'd also posted these concerns to social media as well. But I think it's a concern that a lot of us have had. There's a lot of kids walking to school. And the foot traffic on the roads leading to and from the schools is getting, it's increasing. And what she's proposing is that we take a look and see if there's anything we can do. Her suggestion is sidewalks. I'm not totally certain that's the right way to go about it, but I think there is something that can be done. And my request is that we take a look into this and see if there's something we can do as far as maybe some lighting, some lane usage, designation for walking, anything. I think it is a good idea that we take a look at this. There's a lot more people taking their kids to schools than there used to be. You add the amount that are still currently walking to school or from school, and I think it is a recipe for an accident, something we should look into.
Well, prior to you on here, we have with the Delville project, we added the sidewalk. Sidewalks got really tough. 4 years ago, when they pulled the funding, yeah. It kind of came out, they had a sidewalk school program, and it kind of came out of it. And now they've kind of tied it with the community crossing grant. So if you currently don't have none, about the best avenue I've found lately is you rip out the whole street, you put in curbs and gutter, and then you put a sidewalk in. That basically about the way it is. So at that pace, and no, and laugh, I mean, yeah, I wish we could do it. I do it all over, but you're talking, what, $300,000 for a block? I mean, we won't be able to do what we're doing, so other things would go to the wayside. So that's what it comes down to, is about funding and finding the money.
The Denville Road project was $1 million.
That was $1 million, yeah. And it's tore out everything because you had to put in storm sewer, so that it was easy to put the sidewalk right on top and the curb and gutter right on top of it. Now with everything we got now, we've got a road, so we have to take it out and build up the curb and gutter, all that would have to go in and then.
Now, we have talked about trails.
Trails is
Maybe we
another-
could tie that in with the
That's
trails.
coming, and trails
And there
is,
is trail funding.
There is some, and then we've got a presentation, I've got an ask in front of RDA, the Redevelopment Authority, for, part of that 1.5 million for Delville, part of it for Delville. Our plans were submitted, but now I'll go back and do a formal ask for some money just for the trail system, the acquisition off our Flatland resource deal that we've done on it. So I identified everything from Sheldon Barber Park coming up through here, and then split, which would include what you asked there, 4th Street, baseball diamond, and the other was all in that.
Well, and I'm not totally sold on the answer being the sidewalk. I think there's some other solutions to it, especially given you have to weigh out the residents who live on the street. And they're probably not willing to give up 10 feet of their yard or 15 feet of their yard, especially at the expense. But I think there's something we can do.
I know on Bronco Drive, it's wide enough, we could probably put a walking area.
Yep, and I think that we need to designate it and work with the schools to control how it's accessed, because right now it's kind of a free-for-all. People are going everywhere, kids are going everywhere.
And that's
There
what
needs to be some
you said on
direction.
that, we added a stop sign down at 6th. I mean, I got letters from both, the elementary, from Mrs. Beard and from Dave, both, and we put the temporary up till the locates come in, the new signs come in, we'll stop it. And I understand what it was. I mean, everybody wants to go get their kid, and one's just in a hurry, and everybody just kind of shove it in there. Hey, everybody's kid's important, just as much as yours, I understand, but we gotta get there in an orderly fashion. So yeah, if you wanna look into that, you wanna come up with something from out of the school, I mean, we can look at funding, but there's the main key, it's funding. So I'm all for anything that you can help come up with, and we can put all the sidewalks in, we can get it in. I'm good for that.
Adam, there's one area I think that's really critical. I see it all the time, and that's on River Road here, going down to the apartments in our neighborhood. Kids are walking there, and there's a hill
That's
and
part of it
everything.
that was identified
That's
in
one
the
that's
flatland
really-
resources and easements that would have to be acquired to get all the way up and down either side of that property.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work that's gotta go into it. I mean, it's, like I said, it's just a lot of expense, be it imminent, be it the roads or the acquisition, the right of way. So, but yeah, anything that you can help come up with, I'm more than, we'd be entertained. We can tie it together with community crossing grants and something else. I mean, look for more than one access. Would work.
Thanks for the time.
Did you want to go over that? You're looking at that. I'm gonna jump, next is ordinance 2019-03, water rate. An ordinance establishing the rates, and charges for owners of the property served by the town of Delville Water Utility. You want to review this, Tom? Do you want to go back into it? And Joe, do you have anything that you need to add?
It's tonight when we introduce it.
We introduced tonight.
Correct. Introduce tonight, then we'll schedule a public hearing.
Yep.
And adopt or not adopt after the public hearing.
So in the meantime, we can have this posted on the web.
Yep.
So you can go out, you can all go over.
So I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2019-03, establishing rates and charges for owners of property served by the town of Delville Water Utility. It's a 3% per year rate increase for 3 years, correct?
Correct. The first and a second.
Second that.
First and a second, any discussion? Amy, roll call, please.
Yes. I think you said my name.
I could just throw him off. Adam Jones.
I think you said yes.
Jim Fisher,
Yes.
Joe Scott,
Yes.
Tom Roberts,
Yes.
and Bill Walters.
Yeah, that's why I asked you, it was in my mailbox.
And last year, we gave some money to the school for a yearbook. Is this the boosters it goes to?
Those are, I'm kind of confused because we received something from the athletic boosters.
You got two, you got the
There's two.
yearbook and you got the athletic.
Athletic
boosters. You
boosters,
have two
I
different
think
ones.
the
That's
athletic
the
boosters.
Scorebook or the?
Yeah.
Adam might be able to clarify the booster one because he's involved with boosters. But-
Yeah, I think you were solicited by the athletic director
Yes.
for sponsorship opportunities. What they're looking for, yes, that does go to the athletic budget. Those ads would be placed in the programs and then also on monitors that are placed throughout the gym.
Okay.
Have rolling ads across.
Rolling out, okay, that's the booster one. And then there's one for the yearbook.
And have we done the yearbook in the past?
I don't think so.
We haven't done the yearbook, we've done the boosters.
Mr.
put
Principal
the-
there says that last year we did a half page full color.
Oh, well, then I just, I don't know.
Although this is his first year. So.
You just want to clarify that?
I actually
Just go
thought
back.
we had just
You
done
just dropped that
boosters and
right
added
now.
the program.
Because we could change it if you want.
So how much is a half page? It's full color, $400, no, $220 for a half page. How much is the boosters? I have no idea.
300.
300?
I think there was more on that.
Yeah, there's, well, yeah. I got it.
What do you want to do?
It was like outside banner
I
and,
mean, we've always supported
all
the
that.
of them and we support the school. I would definitely put the money in there for better.
I make a motion, we support both of them like we always do.
250 and 300.
Same thing, yeah, that we have in the past.
Got a motion to have a second,
I'll second the motion.
first and second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, and last item I have right now is the RFP for the downtown development. This is a request for the proposals to design, build, finance, and operate the town of Daleville Town Hall and Police Station through a public-private partnership agreement. The RFP is for developers to propose the corner where the old furniture store was. Yeah, here, and the guest property, correct. So, I would entertain a motion.
And again, this is just, I'm sorry,
Go ahead,
I'll make
yeah.
a motion, then we talk about it.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve this.
I'll second the motion.
First and second, discussion, go ahead.
So this is just to explore the possibilities, see how much it's gonna cost.
Request for proposal from developers, same as we did on the other two corners, looking for what is out there, who wants to develop and know.
And the
You remember, we had one, the envoy, we backed out, everybody knows we just down, we came through. But this is, the other side, we're still proceeding forward, all the parcels and bounds.
The idea is to get a solid cornerstone for that area.
Exactly.
And we need, and this building then could possibly become a community building.
Any other discussion? Amy, roll call,
Sorry,
please.
before you do that.
Sold it?
All right, so the RFP looks good to everybody, right? You're basically approving to issue the RFP. So it has to be, notice the RFP has to be in the Star Press at a minimum, but because it's a decent sized construction project, you may consider also issuing a notice in, I think, similar project we would do the Indy Star, and then also the Horton Commercial, which is like a construction trade magazine. It's where a lot of the bigger companies look for things like this for projects to bid on. So you're gonna basically generate more interest posing just outside of Muncie. And the last one we did was about $250 to do publications in all three. So as opposed to $100 to do just the Star Press. So I would encourage you to think about.
Would you add that to your motion?
Yeah, that's right. Just what it
Cover the cost for the 250 advertised.
Question, since you started talking, it came up. This, is the BOT mean that basically it's one of those where they assume the risk if it goes over, or to that point, where if they say it's $1 million to do this project, that if it comes in over that, then they're responsible for it.
That's exactly what it
There
is.
is no change orders,
This is the
anything like that.
Yeah.
bill operate transfer, so we'll pass the resolution on. This is
Yeah.
where the change orders stop, there's no more surprises.
Yeah, Todd, this is what we did at the new Justice Center.
Right, that's what we talked about.
And I think we've already saved $500,000 so far on that project because they missed out a few things when they bid it. The only people that can change it would be the town. If you guys came in and seen another area that you want to change, you guys can change it, but the company can't. So if they come in and they bid it and say still goes up $20 more, they have to eat that. You guys don't have to do it.
It also stops the games on the backside. I mean, there was game, unwritten rule out there, that you might have a project and three of them got together out there and came in and knew, it was gonna be low, but in the end, there was gonna be change order. Whoever got it, everybody
Yeah.
dropped it. Now you can't play that game anymore. Now, when you, it safeguards us. Well, once we go into agreement, this is the project we want to do, here's how much it's gonna cost unless we change it, not them. So, I think, I mean, I like it, I mean, it just saves money. Okay. All right, any other more discussion? Are we done, Joe? Are you done, Joe?
I think we're good.
Amy, please.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
Tom Roberts,
Yes.
Joe Scott,
Yes.
Ben Fisher,
Yes.
and Bill Walters.
Yes. Okay. All right, is there any other business from the board tonight? Seeing none, any comments from the public? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
First and second? Yes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting is- Thank you, John.
Steve Roden, is this your candidate?
Yes, Joe, Joe, I need to see you before you leave.
Knock it off.
How could I?
Give a little animated
You said that.
I'll give you this copy.